All righty, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the unusual Wednesday night Select Board meeting. I'm going to start, obviously, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Seth, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I think I'm supposed to say this is being filmed by Foxboro Cable Access and recorded. All right, I'm going to go out of order a little bit. I'm going to do a little bit of a State of the Union address, talk a little bit about what's going on. First of all, I want to let everybody know the town is doing fine. Bill Keegan left a legacy of senior staff that is really second to none in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm going to run down, who that senior staff is real quick. We got Bob Cutler as town clerk, Marie as our finance director, Mike Grace as police chief, Mike Kelleher as our fire chief, Chris Gallagher, DPW director, Mark Craig, human services, Paige Duncan, land use and economic development director. We also have Paula Maloney as treasurer collector, Bob Worthy, our water superintendent, Tom Welch, our chief assessor, Scott Shipley, building commissioner, Jane Sears Pierce, our conservation manager, Matthew Brennan, director of public health, Libby O'Neill, our library director, Lance Delpour, close with it? Peory, all right, knew that was the one. Our town engineer, and Renee Tachi, our recreation director. And it's a wonderful staff that has just not skipped a beat. I think back to another Bill, Bill Belichick and his mottos. One of the mottos being do your job, and the other is work as a team. And everyone in Town Hall and the other departments are doing just that. Town services have continued without interruption. There has been no gaps in services whatsoever. Obviously, the elephant in the room is Mr. Cordier is no longer functioning as town manager. It was determined that he was not a good match for the town. The process of hiring a new town manager was a good one. A search committee of fellow townspeople were vetting, I think, up to 80 applications. Reviewing those applications, having some people in to interview, and then sending in their opinion, the four best candidates qualified to us. Unfortunately, it just did not work. And that happens every once in a while. It happened here in the town a number of years ago that we all can remember. As for Mr. Cordier, he entered into a service contract with Foxboro, having signed that contract, and that contract is a public document. It's easy to get. When he left, there were modifications to that contract, and that is also a public document. But there will be no other discussion on his leaving. All employees' personnel matters are private. The public right to know does not trump employees' privacy rights, and the board will make no further comment on his departure. Tonight, we're going to be discussing a bunch of things. Naming a new acting town manager and other discussions, the timeline for hiring a permanent town manager, discussion on maybe naming an acting assistant town manager, what the process will be to hire a human resources director. It's all going to be on the table tonight. We're going to start the process. No decisions necessarily will be made tonight, maybe with the exception of naming an acting town manager. We're going to start the process tonight, and then obviously we'll have other business that we'll get to later in the meeting. All right, let's move on from there. I appreciate your time and your letting me discuss this. We're going to open it up to citizens' input. Anyone here for citizens' input? All right. Next on the agenda will be Discussion. An appointment of acting town manager. The appointment of that acting town manager will be from a term from 8/17/23 to end 2/12/24.
Did you mean to skip cleanup day?
I did.
Okay.
No, I didn't mean to
Okay,
skip it, but I appreciate you telling me about that. Yes.
Just a quick piece of business.
Yeah, we're going to talk, quick piece of business before we get to that. Thank you. Foxborough Cleanup Day.
Rather than keep you guys waiting.
Yeah. You're like, whoa, we're never going to be noticed, right? So yeah, just let us know who your names are and what you're doing.
Mike Marcussello, I'm a part of the Clean Up Foxborough Day Committee.
Nathan Ehrman, also part of the committee. We're just here to give a few brief details about what it is and when it is.
Go ahead.
This
You got the
year's
floor.
event will be on September 9th from 8 a.m. to noon with a pizza party from 12 to 1. This is going to be the 10th annual cleanup, and we're hoping it'll be the biggest ever.
Awesome.
I can't believe it's been 10 years.
You're right, yeah. It's a phenomenal event every year. You know, AJ and you guys, his committee does a phenomenal job. Any questions from the board?
I just love seeing young people like you
Yeah.
getting involved and running with something like this, so thank you very much.
Yeah, usually AJ gets a little nervous speaking in public, but you guys did a great job.
He threw us in here last minute.
Doing his turn.
Less time to worry about it.
Found
right?
out today at about 4:45.
You guys are going up. All right,
No, great job.
do we have to, no vote?
I have a motion, yep.
Oh, you do, okay.
Yeah, because I think we just need to reappoint the committee.
Oh,
So
okay.
it will be the 9th, we don't have to actually vote that
No.
day, but we're gonna just do some cleanup on the appointment. So, motion to appoint AJ Dooley, Jennifer Riggs, Joe Garrity, Nathan Ehrman, Michael Marcusella, did I say that?
Marcusella, yeah.
Okay, to the Cleanup Day Committee for a term to end May 31st, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Once again, looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Alright.
you.
No, once you're here, you have to stay for the whole thing. No, they didn't hear me. All right, so we're going to go back. Thank you for bringing that up. Appointment of acting town manager. The idea is to, by bylaw, we can have an acting assistant town manager for up to about 180 days. We're going to have discussions today about the process of going through hiring a permanent town manager, but that's going to be a months-long process, and we need someone like Paige, potentially, if she's the one that we're going to name, at the helm to continue on, the great job she's been doing to date. So I'll open it up for discussion.
I mean, I think things have been going well so far. I know I'm working on a number of various projects that I work on subcommittees, uptown and things, and just any inquiries I've sent along, whether it be about the West Street Dam or crosswalks on Mechanic Street, it's been very responsive, and it seems like it's business as usual. And, I think, as Doc said, Bill left behind a lot of strong department heads. I see some of them are here this evening as well, but I support moving Paige to the acting town manager role until we figure some things out, and I know we have a lot to discuss as well, so kind of the first part.
Yeah, I've seen Paige for four and a half years now. I was on the advisory committee and was always impressed with your presentations, your grasp of the issues, very articulate, very succinct at the same time, and very effective at what you do. So I've seen leadership from you over 4.5 years, and I've seen really good management skills. I also see somebody that has come up from the ranks. It's always a good signal to the organization when you promote from internally. Searches, I'm going to say something really profound here, searches don't always work out. And they don't always work out because people that come in, a lot of times they're looking for jobs, so they interview well. They handpick their references, so they have good references. They have a good resume. But the thing I stressed continually with our search consultant was the key thing of why searches fail is a single word, and that's fit. And you don't know the fit of a person until they actually arrive and they do their job and everybody sees what they do, and people either like them very quickly or they don't like them very quickly. So it can go both ways. Most of the time, it goes in a positive direction. But there are, 10%, 15%, they don't go in a positive direction. I, for one, wouldn't rush out and do a search. I think people need an opportunity. I went through it. I was enacting. I was CEO at two healthcare systems for the last 17 years of my career. The first one, I was acting, and I then got the job. The second one, I was recruited. So I've been through the process. I've also had human resources report to me directly for 17 years because that's a vital function in the organization. So I have a lot of experience in what we've gone through, what we will be going through. But I, for one, wouldn't rush out and do a search. It's up to you. You have the outcome in your hands, so I would just underscore that. And what we've seen so far is quite good, Paige.
Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the appointment. I think she's the right person, Paige is the right person for the role.
Okay,
That's it.
great.
I agree with everything that everybody said. The only thing that I would disagree a little bit of what Dennis said is I'm absolutely fine with putting Paige forward. She's been doing the job now for 5 or 6 weeks. Although, just because things have been going well, that doesn't mean she is our next town manager. I would say that the process, whatever it's going to be that we will discuss as we go along, happens really quickly because we know how long that process took us the other time. And we haven't been through budgets. We haven't been through town meetings. There's a lot that Paige has not seen yet. And I say this with respect, Paige. I'm not anticipating you not getting through those milestones, but we don't know until we proceed as time goes on. So I am absolutely in favor of moving her forward tonight. I have no disagreements with that. But I do think that we should be having a search. And, however, we'll discuss that later, how we're going to proceed with that. But I think there's a process, and I don't feel comfortable just hiring somebody from within who has not held that position before. So I just would hope that we would move quickly to the next stage. And if that is something that Paige is interested in, of course, and decides to throw her name in the hat for that, I would support that as well. But I do think that amount of time has gone by, and I know this is hard. Summertime, we're meeting once a month instead of twice a month. But I think with knowing what final dates were, I think we're a little bit behind the 8 ball of hitting that next step. So I would just hope that as we discuss it tonight, we would go forward quickly with the next step, and then, whatever happens from there. So I just want to make that a little clear, that's all. But I would be happy to see you appointed.
All right, so with that, it sounds like we're ready for a motion. And again, we're just talking about it, as I know you kind of went into permanent. I don't think we're there yet. This is all about temporary acting tonight, what we're doing tonight.
I don't think I said that either, did I?
Yeah, no, but I think just making, making that clear.
Clarifying.
Excuse me, Leah, but is there going to be any public...
Excuse me, if you want anything to say, you want to come up front?
Sorry.
No, that was from Mr. Beck, not me.
That was Mr. Beck. Okay. Paul? I just have a question, if there's going to be any open discussion with this, or is it going to just be the 5 of you making this decision again? Whether to keep her as an interim. And this is nothing, I have said it, I'm sure all of you have read everything I've written on Facebook, and I have been very open and honest. I have nothing against you. You do an amazing job at planning and development, and you always have. I don't believe, and apparently now that it is coming out, several others don't believe, that the person that was the best choice for this position was chosen. And I think that there needs to be discussion about that. And you need to allow residents to come in and express their concerns. You have a manager, the town clerk, Bob Cutler, who has done this position twice over and has done a very good job at it in sometimes very difficult situations, speaking of the Pecos era. I think that it was a done deal. This town is a tiny little town, and all kinds of stuff gets out.
It's not always accurate, though, that's the thing.
I'm
What I
not
read
saying-
online
I'm not saying it,
is
Leah.
incredibly inaccurate.
Really. I'm not going to argue with you about that, okay? But there seems to be an issue that was said to me personally. Wouldn't I like to have a strong woman in a town position? It's not about a strong female or a weak male. I'm saying we have someone here who is being paid to do his job here, but he's also done this job twice before and has many, many years and much knowledge.
Okay, so we've heard it. You've said it a second time. We appreciate your
Are
opinion.
you going to allow the residents to have some say?
You just did.
No, not
just
just me, the residents, Mark. The residents, not just me. You were all voted in for residents that have.
That allow us to make the decisions because you trusted the five of us when you voted us in. You want to roll your eyes all you want. I don't care. If you voted for me or not, I don't really care.
That's not the issue.
Well, the issue is, that's exactly what the issue is.
No one has
We
even come to us to
represent-
say
Leah,
that they
Leah.
want.
The only person I've
Speaking, please.
The only person that's come to me as chair for the last 6 weeks, the only thing I've ever heard was you. No one else has come to me.
Really?
And my phones, my telephone, my cell phone is plastered all over the place. So we heard what you had to say. We made our decisions. And don't forget, as I mentioned earlier, there were 12 members of the search committee that were townspeople. It was none of us. There were 12 people on that search committee.
I understand that.
Okay. And I think, without going into personnel issues and hurting feelings, thank you for your opinion, but no, we're not going any further with that. Thank you.
Done deal, right?
It's not a done deal. It was a deal that was discussed, and here's where we are.
Okay, on another note, I would like to ask people to keep Mark Sullivan in their prayers, because Mark is very ill,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes.
Yes, and just for the record, no one has approached me looking for this position. So that's just for the record, for everyone to hear, no one else has approached me personally and wanted to be in this position and reached out to me looking to put their name in the ring for acting town manager. Just, I feel like I want to state that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so motion to appoint an acting town manager, and do I have to put the name in there? Okay, motion to appoint Paige Duncan as acting town manager effective 8/17 for a term to end on 2/12/24 or upon appointment of a permanent town manager by the select board.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It's the process. You could shake your head all you want. It's the process.
It's not the way it's been done in the past. It's not. It's been about the people, and it's no longer about that.
Okay.
Sorry, Doc.
No, you can't be any more wrong.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah?
Sure.
All right. Excuse me? Go ahead, come up and speak. Why mumble under your breath? I'm talking to
Mrs.
you.
Morrison, do you
You're
have
the
something
one
to say?
who's mumbling under your breath about what I just said. No, come up here to the microphone and tell us what you feel. This is an open meeting. We want to hear what the citizens have to say. It's a done deal. Well, okay, it's a done deal. Anybody else? Thank you. You know what? She was the best person for the job when we needed her. And she's done a great job filling in a very difficult time. So you can go back and say done deal all you want, but we 5 made the right decision at the right time. Thank you. Moving on. Come up front if you're going to speak.
I will. Bob Cutler's number 2 in the town. There's a pecking order in this town.
Town clerk is not number 2.
Yes, he is.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's number 2.
Okay.
And number 3 is probably the finance director,
Okay.
town manager. There is a career ladder or whatever you want to call it. Okay? Like you're the chair. And you have an assistant. Same thing. But obviously, Bob Cutler, and I talked to him, he was never approached. Why? Why is that?
I'm not going to get into that right now.
Yeah, well, why? There's something, you're hiding something.
Yeah, I am.
There's something up.
Yeah.
He wasn't approached. He should have been approached like he was before with the Payco steel.
Different
and said,
time,
"Hey,
different
you want to be an
situation."
interim thing?" Yeah. Elevate his salary for a little while, and then when he goes back to the town clerk's position, go back down to that salary. Simple. What I think you should do is go out and extend an offer of invitation to all the people, the 4 candidates, well, the 3 now, and say, come back here, we want to interview you one last time,
That's not how it works.
you know, and that's it.
No. Okay, we're going to open up the, well, we'll discuss that in a little bit.
That's going to take too much time. You don't know, out of the 3, 1 maybe come up and say, yeah, I want the job.
No. No. In the time frame, it's going to be fine.
You know, this town is just like Washington DC right now.
We're all politicians, right?
I know that.
We're all politicians, because we have an agenda. Thank you for your input. All right, next on the agenda, the timeline and process and search for an appointment for a permanent town manager. So in our board packet, there was the timeline we had used prior, and then an updated timeline. And we don't necessarily have to go out and hire a consultant. I think we could go through potentially that process, especially if we had we're going to talk about human resources in a little bit. Human resources, if we have a human resources person on staff too, following through on that timeline. But does anybody else, I mean, that's what I put up. What is all your opinions?
Well, first of all, I just, no, and not that we have to go back and forth, but Dennis, you did say, I don't think we have to rush into a search. That's why I said what I did.
Yeah, I'll
So
say, and I'll say it again.
I agree with that.
I'll say it again. I
That we don't
think-
have to rush into it. Okay, but I thought, then you said to me, I don't think I said that. That's why I want to say.
No, I didn't
what
think I,
It was the acting.
Yeah.
The word acting.
Oh, okay. So I just want to say that. I just wanted to clear that up. That's why I responded the way I did. So the only thing I would say with not, I'm not saying we have to bring Bernie back in or whatever. Again, if we were to not bring that outside piece in, whether it's somebody that is acting as HR, you're bringing somebody in to help to pick their boss. It's the same thing. That's why I think we need to be outside. And if you guys want to skip that, I think it's going to then just come to the 5 of us. If we skip that process, I don't think you can really bring an HR person in, because the HR person would be screening applicants or for somebody who's going to be their boss.
Can I say one thing about that, though?
Yeah.
If I could? When we get to the human resources part, and this is probably going to be where we discuss it now anyway, as with the last time we hired a human resources director, no human resources person coming in full-time is going to come in full-time unless they know who the permanent town manager is.
Okay.
The last time we had the process, the number 1 candidate, when they found out Bill was retiring, withdrew their name. Don't know if it was a he or she, because they wanted the comfort of knowing. My thought is hiring a interim human resources director so that we can have someone that will help us with that process, but might not down the road
Be
be
an employee here.
right, that down the
Yeah,
road, the permanent
Okay.
town manager would hire
Okay.
So that came up from a number of sources. Jamie, our Labor Council, Mary Beth, who's helping us out one day a week, brought that very important point up. So if we do get a human resources person, it's probably going to just be temporary to help us with this process and human resources issues.
Okay.
What is the expected time frame for interim? Presumably that's shorter to find a person for that role, an interim role, than for a full-time.
Now that we've named Paige acting town manager, it would be her responsibility now to look for an acting human resources director.
And it would be a shorter time frame because it wouldn't involve
Okay.
committees and
Right.
quite the lengthy process that a town manager search requires.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paige.
There are very good companies out there that have resources
Okay.
to help organizations out in this exact situation.
So I know
The
we're
other thing
jumping
I-
ahead, but can we, sorry, Dennis.
That's all
go
right.
ahead.
No, the other thing I just want to say, because I know there's a lot of history in the town, and there's a lot of stuff out in the community, and I'm starting to hear it myself. We've only been here 6 years. So, but I do bring an outside perspective and fresh eyes, and I don't see anything that I'm hearing out there happening throughout this process. You know, being objective and having fresh eyes, I see hardworking people trying to do a very effective job, and there's nothing underhanded that I've seen as a newcomer to town in terms of this process. And I think I can say that because I wasn't here for a lot of the history that people have experienced here, and I don't debate that there's been that history. But I haven't seen it. You know, I think Bill was very effective as a town manager. He has a very effective, expert management team, senior management team, and that's been the legacy, and I think the people have really stepped up to the task and really are doing a very effective job. And I'm not seeing the subterfuge that I hear, and I read Facebook and all of that. You know, my daughter taught me how to do that. I read all of that, and, but I haven't seen it. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, it's, just to build on that, it's tough to be a volunteer and do the best you can and act ethically and just no matter what you do, it's unfortunate. When I took this job 7 years ago, there's an expectation that both sides will act civilly to each other, and that seems to be deteriorating, over time. And I can just, echo that everything that we do is with the best interest of this town, at heart, that we care so much about. So that's why we're, debating it today, and even, talking about hiring a new town manager. Like, I think we should give it a little bit of time. Like, I don't want to rush right into opening the job up. There's been a lot that's going on. There's a lot that's out there. Let things kind of normalize for a little bit. Give it a little bit of breathing room. I'm not saying like 6 months or a year or anything, but I don't feel like we have to post this job in the next 3 weeks. Like, I think it's okay to let things simmer for a little bit, create a little bit of space, let, our department heads and people in town hall have a little bit of time before there's more change again as well. And, it's not as simple as going back out to the people, that didn't get the job. They might not even still be looking for jobs, and it's just not the right thing to do in a process. You really want to open it again and open it to people that may be here, or, people that didn't throw their name in the hat last time as well. So I do think we should go through a formal process again for sure. However, I'm in favor of putting a little bit of space between today and when that kicks off, because, things are trucking along right now. It is a temporary basis, but I don't feel the urgency to rush out and get that started. Let it simmer, let things cool down a little bit.
Is there something in the bylaws? I thought somebody told me there was something in the bylaws about how long you can have an acting.
180 days, but.
Yeah, I think
you-
Doc said that.
Yeah, I said it
Oh,
earlier,
okay,
180
okay.
days, but you can extend it if you need to.
Okay.
And I don't think I'm not in favor of going out like 180
Yeah.
days or anything,
Yeah.
but just, even if it was maybe, October, or just,
Yeah.
let some time simmer.
I didn't realize we could do an extension. So for me, I was thinking, okay, if we didn't start the process, that 180 days is gonna be like this. We know how long it took the process the first time. So I just wanna make sure we're not at 180 days, we have to name a permanent town manager. That was basically why I
Yeah.
was looking to
Yeah,
proceed quicker.
Yeah, we got from council right here, 180 days, but can extend after that.
For how long? Just indefinitely
Oh,
extend?
At that point, just said extend after that, so.
What's the point of 180 days? Nothing? Zero
give it
impact
ti-
of that?
Clean up that bylaw.
To give a time frame.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so that's sort of like, and what's great coming up is we are back to 2 meetings a month, so we can, sort of make decisions every couple of weeks as we need to. Take a look at the timeline that's in our board docs now, the one that, came from Bernie and the one that, sort of our own over the, with these dates going forward. We'll certainly come back. I think this is going to be a discussion item for the next couple of board meetings, so it's probably going to be, an item of discussion as things go on and more decisions need to be made. But everybody comfortable with the concept of the human resources, though? The fact that we probably need someone in temporarily to help with the process, but that person's probably not going to be the permanent one.
And Doc, can you just clarify, today we have someone helping temporarily. Can you
Yes.
just set the stage on that a little bit too?
Yeah, right now we've got Mary Beth. Those of you that may remember, Mary Beth was here 4 or 5 years ago.
She left in 2019.
2019, 4 years ago, and she's coming in 1 day a week to help with human resources issues and helping Paige with what she needs to do when it comes to human resources
Okay.
problem.
So we do
Yeah.
have coverage right now.
We do have coverage, and I think she's here till October.
Yes, he's traveling in October, so we do kind of have a desire to get this worked out relatively quickly, get something in the interim in the meantime, because she's also acknowledged that the town might need a little more than 1 day a week. So we've looked at different iterations of that, but the help has been great, but we're looking to make it a little bit more than that in the interim.
Maybe down the road, I just saw Bill come in a little bit ago, with superintendents that retire and then come back and fill superintendent roles for, a couple of months. Maybe we can find someone who's retired but willing to come back for a couple of months and help us out with that process. All right, everybody go ahead.
So can we start, are we agreeing to start that search now for interim right away?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, that's. what I
Interim
was-
HR.
Interim HR, yes.
And what do we think we need? Just curious, as far, like, part-time, right? Or are we looking full-time? Just want to clarify where we're
Well,
at.
that's a good question.
I mean, full-time would be great. We do have it in the budget. That said, I think we'd take, even if it had to be 3 days a week, I think somewhere between 3 and 5, but most of those interims aren't necessarily looking for full-time, and I think it would also depend on budget. Sometimes if you go over the firm, it might be a little bit more expensive, and we wouldn't want to pay for a full week, so I think it's balancing our needs versus the service they're offering.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is with one of these firms, they really have expert people, so you pay a little bit more, but you might need them less hours.
Right.
So you can make that trade-off. Right.
Good point.
It may be easier to find someone too, because, I mean, how do you post that? You're looking maybe for someone, you put out what you're looking for, and maybe you hope that somebody that's retired that wants to work a little bit, if we didn't use a firm, is that how we would go?
Well, I think we'd open it up to, we post it as a job. We'd also make sure that it went out to the Human Resources Professional Network. There's, a network here in state. But then we'd also have to be looking at these firms as well as, I think it would be our preference perhaps, although, and that's something I guess I'll have to decide, is whether we want to go, and I think I'd talk to Dennis a little bit more, is, whether our preference would be a firm, which is a certain thing you might not get Massachusetts-based, there's some balancing there. Whereas if you get a retired or some professional that's done Massachusetts local HR, that's a different service. So it's a balancing act. We're going to have to figure out who's the right fit and who's going to give us the sort of the most bang for our buck. But really, sometimes you can't, if they came from the private sector, they might not know the town side of things as well. So it's going to be something we navigate.
Great. All right. Next up is, naming until we get that human resources person in. Maybe getting someone up who could help as an acting assistant town manager.
Sorry, I feel like we skipped over
Oh, go ahead.
the town manager search process. I was not in favor of simmering at all. I'm 100% in favor of moving as soon as possible and filling that role. So whatever I need to do, put a motion on the floor to have that role posted, or at least have a strategy for moving forward to have the town manager role filled with a permanent person as soon as possible.
Yeah, I don't think we missed that. I think we discussed that.
Not what I heard, though. I heard sit and wait and see what happens. And
No, we're still going to go through the process.
what is the process? I don't know that we know the process.
We don't know that yet. That's part of what we,
That's what I thought we were going to talk about.
Well, okay. The process, we have a timeline. But where we go, we have to discuss is, are we going to go out and get another company to do it? Are we going to do it with the help of a human resources person that Paige might hire? Those are things I don't think we can make that decision today, but we could certainly discuss it more, absolutely. Mary Beth did think that a human resources person could help us along with that process without having to go to another firm, which really, in the whole scheme of things, really didn't work out well for us. The firm we used last time. So that's what are you thinking?
Yeah, so that's the discussion I would hope we would have. I don't know if, in the discussions with Mary Beth, where she thought an HR person could help with the process, if that meant she thought an interim HR person, like whoever so we have to wait for that, or I just want to have that discussion sooner rather than later. Are we not ready to have it because we don't know what our options are? Then that's fine. Then we got to wait another month to have
2
that
weeks.
discussion?
2 weeks.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
I don't get the urgency, Seth. I know it's a critically important position, but I think, Mark opened the meetings talking about how we're stable, things are headed in the right direction. We're giving Paige an opportunity to show what she can do, but so I don't see the urgency. That doesn't mean I don't think it should be filled in due pace, but I don't see the urgency. Let's leave here tonight and get this started tomorrow, and let's get somebody in here as quickly as possible. I don't see the urgency.
Yeah.
If everything was in bad shape, and things were falling apart, and all of those things were happening, I think that's a different. I'm not reading that that's the situation that we're in at all. That's all.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I would just say that without a leader, we have spots we need to fill, like an HR director. So basically, we're saying that's going to be an extended absence in that role with a permanent person. Paige does have a day job, which now she's doing, dual roles. I don't know that there's going to be a great appetite for assigning an assistant town manager. So I do think there's urgency to have the top most important position in the organization filled with somebody as soon as possible. I know things are good. We have a great team across town and great department heads, but I think there is and should be urgency around finding our next top person for the town.
You don't want to have an HR person in here first, the interim person?
I don't know what
to help-
maybe an
to help,
HR
like, lead
person.
shepherd that process?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it sounds like we can turn that around pretty quickly, so let's assume there's somebody here by next month. So we can still have that conversation now about how we want to move forward, I think. I mean, unless an HR person dictates what our process is. So, I mean, I may be just one voice, but I'm anxious and feel like we need to fill that void. And I think Paige is doing the right things. And I think she's certainly somebody who should be part of the process. And if we think Paige is the person we want in the role, then that's fine. Let's say that, rather than let's see what happens, or let's sit and let it simmer. So
Well, I'm going to piggyback a little bit. Well, you kind of, I think you explained why you'd like to go forward. And, it's hard to have these discussions with Paige sitting right there, because I think I will always say what I feel and try to give you, and give you respect, because what I have to say really isn't about Paige, it's about the process. And while I respect what Dennis said, the fact of the matter is, we put a person in to run our town. We just voted, and I'm happy with the vote. I mean, this is what's in front of us, okay? But we just put a person in who had no town manager experience, okay? So if it's going to be Paige, like if Paige decides to throw her name in the hat, that's great. But we're going on 5 to 6 weeks. Like I said, we haven't started a budget process, and I know she's gonna have help with finance, we're town meeting, but what if a month from now, a bomb falls? I don't mean a literal bomb, I mean a problem that Paige has not had to deal with. So at that point, then we're gonna back up and say, oh, well, you know, Paige can't handle this. I don't know if she'll be able to handle it or not handle it. That's what I mean, there's a lot of unknown. It's not even about Paige. It could have been anybody that we put in this position.
Sort of like John Cordier. Did we know he was gonna bomb like he bombed?
Of course not.
Right.
But we put him in that position with 14 years of experience as a town
And look
manager.
what happened.
And we do have town council, so like,
Yeah.
we don't want to use them on day to day, but we definitely, I know from when I was chair, there was times we'd reach
Yeah.
out to town council. I would like to hear Mary Beth's opinion too, like from her HR perspective. I really do value her opinion and her knowledge, like what she thinks honestly between space and going right for it. Like I haven't heard from her, and I would like that professional opinion on it. I mean, I know if I'm going for the job and I watch this meeting tonight, do you want to come in to a town where, you know, just, I'll leave it at that. You know, there's a lot going on right now. I think, like, that's why I just think a little space is a good thing. You know, maybe have someone in here, have the process kick off after the HR person's here, because do we really need another consultant? They really helped us write the mission statement. Like, they helped us do a lot of that stuff that's done.
Oh, yeah,
So-
I agree. I mean, and I guess if we reach out to another consulting firm, we're also gonna be shelling out the money.
Yeah, and there was only a couple of them.
Yeah.
So to me, it's
Yeah.
really important to have an HR person in here.
Yeah.
For our backs and
Yeah.
make sure we're doing the right way.
Yeah.
So that's step one for me, is getting an interim HR person in here to really help us. Yes, to help us.
I can get Mary Beth on right now if we want her to hop on.
Yeah, I mean, I would love,
Oh,
I don't know that I'm even ready to decide
well,
tonight anyway,
yeah.
either way.
Well, I didn't know, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I know we're not deciding tonight, so.
I didn't know
but
if
this
you
is the
wanted her
discussion
input
part of it.
in light
No,
of the
and-
fact-
Never next
and,
time.
Yeah, what Doc said about, you know, maybe someone not wanting to come on as the HR director without knowing who their boss is gonna be makes absolute sense to me. I'm okay, I think, yeah, maybe we get an interim in, or reach out to, you know, a firm that would, you know, that we could, whether it's a temp that's in to help us with the process. You know, I mean, there's a lot of good things back and forth, but like I said, what I'm struggling with is, whether it's Paige or whoever it's gonna be, we need to get a permanent town manager. And so.
But we all
Yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah. Why would
Well,
We all agree, we're going.
well, it's the timeline, I guess. I don't think we all know we have to get a permanent town manager, but, I mean, I just don't feel comfortable with saying that we're not gonna have a permanent town manager for 6 months. We get through the 6 months and then we can extend it, it's 9 months. You know, I just think that's the piece that we should be, you know, I know we can't do it tomorrow. We have to get an HR person in to help us through. And then, because that also, without having that town manager position full, we also don't have a permanent HR person either. So.
I don't think I'm
yeah.
saying 6 months either. I'm just saying, like, I don't think we need to put the posting out tomorrow, you
If you
know?
look at the timeline, that timeline is within 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you look at that the new
Yeah.
timeline with those dates, that timeline is geared for,
Yeah.
it's in our computer, but here's
Yeah.
a
Oh, these are all
copy.
copies for everyone.
You know,
But it's within the 6 months.
Yeah.
Mark, you know, at the end of the day, quick is not better. And the goal here is to go out and find the best town manager possible to move into the role. Now, whether it's internal or external, the goal is the same, to find the best possible town manager and not to go through what we just went through again. That's the goal. And doing it quickly isn't going to really help reach that goal. It's actually, I think, going to impede that goal.
Either way, either we're gonna start on the sooner side and we're gonna get some good applicants, or for me, I think it's just to have the permanent person here. I don't think it really matters whether we do it as far as who we're gonna get, unless we just happen to catch someone leaving a position or whatever, it's, I guess we could talk, this is a discussion.
I'm worried we
can
won't
talk and so
attract the
forth.
right candidate pool too soon because there's been a lot going on and, what's going on and let things stabilize. That's where my worry is we had just opened it up and we did have a lot of applicants, but, people might be a little worried right now to make a big move to come somewhere, understandably. So that's where my head's at with a little bit of space, letting things kind of normalize. And for the town hall staff too, like letting things normalize for them for a little bit. That's where,
Well, and what about Paige's position? What's going on, what's gonna go on with her former position? So we're leaving that open too, right?
Paige can talk on that.
Gabby Jordan has stepped up and is, she's a part-time planner, but she's done a fabulous job filling in for me. And we knew this would take several months to do, so she's set up to do this for several months. And it hasn't been a problem at this point.
Okay.
and are you still doing any of your old job too? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm still obviously doing the Walnut Street stuff, the FCOD stuff, I mean, FCBC stuff, sorry. So, yeah, I'm certainly not completely absent from that, and I support land use department as they need, so
Well,
it's,
which would have been, how it would have been when that was your position and Bill was the town manager, or John for the short time, there would have been that connection anyhow. So you're
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
you're just on the other side of it.
yes, well, it's a little bit more. I mean, I'm doing a little bit more than Bill or John did, but yes.
Because
Yeah.
because you know.
Well, and there's certain projects that I have that,
Yeah.
I'm just not gonna, it doesn't make sense to transfer them over, or I don't want to, because they're, like Walnut Street, near and dear.
Work is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and she
So,
knows all the businesses in town. Like, that was a big thing for us, was like knowing someone who's going to be able to work with, the big and the small businesses in town. And, fortunately, through Paige's role, she's touched from the biggest to the littlest business in town and, had to make difficult decisions or had to, have tough conversations or the good conversations and the fun ribbon cuttings and things like that too. So, I think for her particular role right now for interim, I think that's working, in my opinion, although I can't speak for Paige.
and I just want to make it clear, in case there's any question out there, I know the board's not talking about handing me this job. I wouldn't want it, in the sense of, I want to earn it. So I will compete for this job, and I would want to earn it on my own merits. I would not want the townspeople to look and say, oh, look, that's been handed to her, and there's an agenda. That's not good for any of us. So this is something that I will compete for, and I do not expect this to be handed to me, so.
I think you just publicly announced your candidacy.
So the funny thing is, whether you guys want it done quickly, I'm in agreement to slow play it. Bottom line is, we're both at the same spot. This is going to be our timeline to get it done. And I think it's a good timeline. Read it, go over it over the next couple of weeks. We'll certainly discuss it, at our next meeting, which is, I don't have it in front of
It
me.
is September 12th, I believe.
So can we all agree that we don't need to make a decision on the timeline, but we do want to talk about it next meeting?
Yeah.
Just to kind of move by that agenda item?
And I will have more information on the HR, and I mean, if by some chance we have someone available, I'll certainly have invite Mary Beth to participate, but if we have a more permanent solution that could collaborate on that at that time, it might be helpful to have that person or that entity to provide insight, since they would probably be the ones overseeing it or supporting the board on it. So we'll bring as much to the table at the next meeting to help further this along.
My last point is around transparency. I think to the extent, every extent possible, be transparent as possible with the public and make sure that to the extent we can be, everyone is aware of what the process is, what it looks like. And I think that's critical as we move forward.
And I think, just to clarify, I think that is something that we have really strived to do. So we're all looking at this for the first time tonight and
Yep.
talking about it and figuring out what we want to do and having healthy disagreements, and hearing each other's sides. And I think that's what I hope that we, continue to do as this process moves forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the struggle with the disconnect with the residents, you know, something gets thrown out there, and everybody wants to, you know, I mean, listen, we've all read the stuff on Facebook, this board is not transparent, we're not, you know. I'm thrilled that you read your statement, because I think just some people don't realize it's not just always about sharing the information. There's certain information that we can share, and, you know, I don't know how many people might have reached out to anybody, but of course, since this process, people have come up to me and said, well, what's been going on, and whatever. And I think maybe what some people don't really understand is the personnel part, because they want to know, well, why did this happen? And those are the questions unfortunately, we can't answer.
We could sit up here and talk about it, and then we could get the town sued and end up in a big lawsuit. I mean,
Exactly.
that
So
could be
I-
the flip side,
yeah,
you know?
So I am happy, really happy with the statement. At least maybe some people will understand. It's not that we don't want to tell you. It's, yeah, people have a right to their privacy, and so there are just certain things we cannot talk about. So the statement was great, Doc, as far as getting that out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Someone had their hand up? Yeah.
Can I make a statement?
If you come up here, sure.
If you have, don't please don't yell at me.
Promise I'll try to hold my breath.
I happen to be a human resources professional, and in the spirit of full disclosure, I'm working with Julie in the senior tax credit program, doing HR stuff, so I just thought I would say that. So my question for this group is, to be transparent to the town, and I understand all the information about why you can't share individual people. Where I've been disappointed so far tonight is I'm not hearing anything of lessons learned from the last process. And I really think that's important for transparency to the town. There must be, I was in human resources for 43 years. We always did a postmortem, always. And I'm not hearing that, so to wait 2 weeks, we'll let things, it's not sitting well with me. So I just thought I would share that.
But you being in human resources, you've got to know that there are certain issues that just can't be discussed.
So you're not listening.
No, but I am.
No, let me, you can keep interrupting me. I'll say it's simple, and then I'm going to go back to the back of the room.
I'm glad you repeated, because one of the words you said, I lost. I didn't, so.
What I'm asking for is lessons learned. During the last search process, you spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. We all thought it was the right decision to make. We learned some things through that process. You talked about fit, how important fit is, or I think it was you who said it. So all I'm asking for to share with the town is, instead of just going right into the process again, where's the postmortem? Where have you analyzed what went wrong, what could have been done better, what can we improve upon in this next process? That's what I'm looking for, and it has nothing to do about the individual.
What's your first name?
Liz.
Liz. So Liz, can I just say,
I should have stayed back.
No, believe me, for me, there's a lot of post-mortem, because, you know, for me, and this is the first time I've hired a town manager, okay? I don't know, has anybody hired a town manager? No, okay.
Can't say I've ever hired a town
If
manager.
anybody, it might have been you, Doc,
no,
but,
that was after
so,
Pecos.
I mean, the process, you know, there was a firm, you know, we had a
No,
screening
you
committee
don't
of
need to
great
do this.
people.
I'm asking you guys to do your own analysis and share with the town going forward as we approach this next search. Here's what we've learned, here's what we're gonna do differently, and this is the process. That's transparency. Saying, I think the words you used were employee rights trump
Public right to know.
residents' need to know.
Yeah.
And I'm not even anywhere in that sandbox. I'm all the way over here going, you're saying let's delay, you're saying let's move it forward, you're saying it's important, you're saying it's important. I'm just sitting here going, so did the five of you sit down and do a postmortem
We
to say?
can't do anything unless it's at this table.
We
That's
can't.
what we're doing now.
Okay, so do it now. So I'm gonna go back to my chair, but that's what I think transparency in this process is what the town is looking for. They're not looking for individual information. They may say they want it, but they know in their heart they can't have it. But I, as a resident of this town for 7 years, I'm sitting here going, So another 2 weeks will go by, and another 2 weeks will go by, and I'm like, what is the process? So I'll go back, you can talk.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that.
So I agree with you. And I've been through a lot of searches, and some of them fail, and some of the hires don't work out, and you always do that postmortem, and you always do the lessons learned. What's challenging in this environment, because this is new to me.
Wait a minute, though.
It's hard to
I
have a
want- I want-
conversation when there's,
I want Liz to hear this.
I'm sorry?
Well, you were having a discussion, and I think
Right.
Dennis was trying to answer
Right.
what you had to say.
Yeah, one of the organizations I worked for was a public healthcare system, so I'm very familiar with the public aspect of this and some of the constraints because of the public aspect and the open meeting law and all of those things. So we can't have that conversation because of the open meeting law. We can maybe talk about how we could do it in such a way that we could maybe talk about lessons learned, but we have to be extremely careful that we don't back into some of the confidentiality agreements, that could create, and you know that.
They're two separate things.
Well, they're not in this particular instance, is my point. They're coupled,
The person you chose to hire
right?
and your process are two separate things. Totally different.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah, neither do I, I'm sorry.
but we can add that as a step.
I shared my thoughts. so you-
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, absolutely. And maybe there is a process over the next couple.
Have an HR person and ask them that question.
Well, if I may, I think one of the things, doing a postmortem on behalf of the staff, is that we did not necessarily feel that the fit ended up being the vote. We felt the vote was more focused on fiscal issues and less focused on the culture and the team of town hall staff. And we feel that that was sort of proven. And so I think in that postmortem thing, it did not work out. And for whatever reasons, but I think it had to do somewhat with the fit.
And while I agree with you, it's very hard. I'm gonna speak for myself. It's very hard when they go through the screening process and then we're given 3, 4 people, okay? Of course we would like to see the fit. But for me, I'm not picking the fit over the experience. I want it to be meshed somewhere in the middle. I'm going to speak for everyone on this board because I'm sure nobody will disagree with me. The last thing we wanted was to hire somebody that didn't fit here, okay? I don't think any of us were thinking that was going to happen, okay? But with that being said, we can't just say, oh, geez, I'm just making this up. This candidate, geez, he seemed like a nice guy. He would probably fit in town hall. At least for me, I had to look at what the experience was. Now, yeah, we got it wrong. We got it wrong. And I don't think anybody up here is saying that we got it right and it just didn't work out. We got it wrong. But that doesn't mean the process, and I'm not really sure where the postmortem comes in, because I think we are all going through that process, and like Leah said, we can't all just sit in a coffee shop and discuss it, because that's not how it works. So we're trying to discuss it here. It's been a very short time that we could even say anything about what was going on. So if anyone at home thinks that we don't care how this went down, you couldn't be more wrong. And we'll do our best to get it right the second time around. I mean, I don't know if I'm summing that up pretty good for
No,
you
I guess
guys
that's
or
it.
not.
We're bound by open meeting law. We can't go
Yeah.
sit in a conference room and have a postmortem. So I think that's something we have to get into our process.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hearing you out and I'm trying to respond, but you're shaking your head no at me, so.
Because
She's
I
gonna have a
don't disagree with her.
No,
but
I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing.
How do
Let's
we
put
do
this
that?
in the process.
Well, yeah, how do we
you know.
do that? I mean, could you help us with telling us how we should do that? I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I just don't know how we do that, I guess.
That's what our HR person
Yeah,
will
yeah.
can help with.
Okay.
If we make that an explicit,
Okay,
Come full circle.
yep.
All right. Thank you. So until we hire, or Paige, sorry, hires a, either a temporary, part-time human resources, somewhere along the line, until that process is done, and it could be a week from now, it could be 6 weeks from now, I think potentially having an acting assistant town manager around might not be a bad idea. And it could be, like I said, that person could be a week, could be 6 weeks. It's nothing permanent. It's someone who, if Paige needs to take a professional day, that there's someone up here until that human resources person is here to take phone calls.
So just to make sure I understand what you're saying, and for everyone, we are not making a decision on bringing back the assistant town manager position. This is not something that we're looking to do going forward. This is part of the temporary solution, only for this piece of time, nothing going forward, permanent state of organizational structure.
Correct.
May I just speak to that? Because we all know Bill Keegan was a pretty incredible town manager, 40 years of experience. He always had a full-time person, whether it was Mike Johns as the HR/ATM, or whether it was Liz as the full-time HR. Right now, it is me alone. And I've been doing it, and I am doing it. That said, I have no one to bounce leadership ideas off of. I am alone. You know, if I go to a department head, am I favoring a certain department head over another? Because all the department heads are equal. So how do who's my leadership team? Who can I rely on? Who's going to, support me and help me in this? So I think that's where it's just, and, God forbid I get COVID or something happen, it's literally me alone and I'm doing it. But I do think it would be beneficial to the community to have an extra resource and, for me to have a teammate in this interim period where it's literally me alone to work with me on this.
I appreciate that, Paige, thank you. One of the things that I think about with this conversation is Bill had an assistant town manager. When he elevated your role and Mark Craig's role to sort of an umbrella of the rest of the town departments, in my mind, Mark Craig immediately is someone I would think of as someone who could help in that regard with ideas and support and coverage. Whether that's even an official role or he's just helping out, but I think he's on vacation, so he's not available right now, but I'd be willing to bet that he'd be someone who would be helpful and willing to help and is looking to contribute in that realm of administration. So my suggestion would be we sit on this a little bit, talk to Mark about it, talk to other candidates that could be interested in that type of thing and or type of role, and vet that a little bit more, understand a little bit more about what that help entails, what the capacity those people, the potential people have, Mark or others that I've heard, what their capacity is, what capacity you need, and so just vetting it out, understanding who, what, and for how long, and then have that conversation again. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Can I bring up something though about that?
Of course.
I wanted to bring that up so the five of us in the town would know about the potential for an acting assistant town manager temporarily. And whether the five of us agree, that should be done. But once again, now that Paige is acting town manager, it's her responsibility to name that person. But I think us bringing up names is a great idea.
Actually, it's in our bylaws that any kind of reorganization is within our purview, so it's not something the page just decides and we all sit here and
No, that's why we're discussing it.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying, is
Yeah,
we,
no, that's
this,
why we're
that's part of our
discussing it.
purview is to.
I thought our bylaw was that the town manager does it, but we can all unanimously veto an organization.
Yeah, if we wanted to have a
Correct.
vote, sure, yeah.
So it's not us to appoint it, it's us to really let
Correct.
the town manager do it, and only if we want to come in and say, eh.
I'm just
That's how I-
suggesting that Paige is not gonna make us go to a vote. She's gonna understand what the decision of the board is and act accordingly. She's-
Well, I think the decision is there a need for that position?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Second is, I think Mike's a great idea. Mark said Mike, because another name that was brought up would be Mike Kelleher,
Absolutely.
who has plenty of time on his hands, and, oh, no, did I say that out loud?
That's a joke.
That was a joke. But, Mike's also proved that, during the COVID crisis, coming to bat when we had an issue with public health leadership role there, got 2-week notice right in the middle of COVID. Mike and his department, so him helping us stick fingers in the dike, he's got a track record for that. And there might be others, unless, I'd like to hear, what everybody else says, because that's what this is all about.
Yeah, no, I think I echo the Mark Craig thought, because he's done a very effective job. He's very respected, very liked by the town, very liked by the seniors, in terms of what he's done for the seniors in town. A very, very important group. He has good administrative skills, he has good management skills. It's a kind of position that he would do well in terms of, covering a lot of territory on behalf of Paige. I think we have, just right in the room here, we have a couple of people, Chief Grace and Chief Kelleher, that.
Chief Grace is very full.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, well, I want to put it out there for that very reason. I think you guys are superb. I think you run centers of excellence, probably right at the top of departments in the entire state. And talk about a full plate as you look forward to the next year between the concerts, the Patriots, the World Cup, everything that's Army, Navy, everything that's giving you hives. I mean, you're going to be spread so thin, the last thing you need to do is jump into things that, and I consider you guys professional managers, meaning you manage professionals, which is different than managing other people, trust me, who manage doctors for a living. You manage professional staff, so it's a different skill set and a different approach when you're managing professionals. So that's just my say.
I think it's amazing that we have so many strong department heads, honestly. I mean, in this room, I know, Mike, you're not interested, but, Mr. Yukna, I think, is one of the smartest people I know, although he may not be interested in something like that. Same thing with Chief Kelleher, just, there's so many great people that are willing and able to step up, and I do favor the position in the interim. I think there's a lot right now, and I think if someone wants to go on vacation or has to get out of the, I do think it will take a little bit of that pressure, especially when you're still straddling, the other role. I am in favor of an acting assistant. Again, just for the record, that by no means means that we're looking to change the organizational structure going forward, to bring that back full time. But for where we are right now, I do think it is a good idea. And, I know we're not supposed to meet until September 12th again, but, if we had to meet on August 29th, I'm not opposed to it if it's what we need to do. If too much time is going to pass, just throwing that out there too. Because there is a lot going on right now, and I don't think we need to make any decisions about timelines, tonight, or, if we're not ready to make a decision, but I do think we should keep things moving forward. And it's great that we have so many people, not only qualified, but willing to step up and help out.
I guess I want to clarify the process, because it's clearly my appointment as opposed to yours, but are you proposing that, candidates interested in this would submit something or make proposals to you? Or are you proposing that you're involved in some process? Or what is the 29th, what would be the purpose of another meeting, and exactly what are you thinking?
So here's the thing. In normal, and I'm not saying you are, we just voted you to be acting town manager, I, for one, would like the board to have a little input with who's appointed, even though it's supposed to be your appointment, because here's the thing.
You know what, I'm gonna put you on pause for
Go
just
ahead.
a second.
Go ahead.
Because our Labor Council's
Oh,
on.
okay, great.
And Jamie, would you,
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? So I just want to just give a brief synopsis about the way that the charter reads, and I want to kind of re-clarify and refocus the board's discussion. So the board's discussion is limited to whether or not they are giving feedback on whether or not that appointment should be made. Paige, as the acting town manager, has that right to appoint. So it's not appropriate for the board to make that appointment, or I would also guard against giving recommendations in a public setting like this because it's personnel information. So I would really just focus the board's discussion onto what your role and responsibility is, which is if you feel that it's appropriate to have that position be filled on an interim basis. And then Paige will then set out the process and Paige will do the appointment. That's the way that your charter reads, and that's everyone's respective roles and responsibilities.
Great, that clarifies it.
okay.
So
It does, but I mean, it would be nice to know that, not that we wouldn't have appointed you tonight. I guess my thing is, are there gonna be, is there gonna be compensation? Is there gonna, I still feel like with finances that were not planned before this happened, and now, that's why I think we would that's why I thought it would be nice for us to have a little say. If Paige wants to, take some type of interest from people, but I don't, in the charter says that whether it's acting town manager or town manager, I guess technically when she's acting, she is. I'm just a little leery on what deal might be made with, I don't mean that in a bad way, like a deal, but you know what I mean? Like, if she picks someone, are they gonna be compensated? What is, if it's internal already, I guess that's why I was hoping that we could be a little bit involved. Of course, Paige would probably know better than anybody who she feels would be a good fit to work with her. So I'm not, I guess that's why I was hoping we'd be a little bit involved, not so much in picking the person.
You're completely appropriate in terms of the board's role because there's that financial aspect. So the town manager has a budget and it's within the budget if we have an amount budgeted. So whether or not you want to fill that role, there's going to be a compensation attached to it. Whether what it is to be determined, but that's why you're getting that determination as to whether or not you think you should fill that role for the interim period because you are tied to the finances, as you aptly put. In terms of process and person, that's all the town manager's duties. So I'm just going to refocus the discussion on if you don't feel that that's an appropriate way to expend resources or you don't think it's needed as a board, that's the discussion on the floor and limit the discussion to that scope. Because again, we are hamstrung by the open meeting law and we do need to follow the charter. The charter lays out the foundation and the framework for whose role is what. Your role is to determine yes or no, we want that position interimly filled because it has a financial component to it, number one. And number two, whether or not you think that that's the resources that the town should be expending in the interim period. But you can't get into hiring personnel. And I've been watching this discussion and I want to guard against that. We can't get into those discussions. Sorry, the lawyer in the room is going to try to protect the town from liability.
Appreciate that, Jamie. So I think when I mentioned another member of the town administration, I was in fact considering that as something that could be potentially support for the town manager role without officially having an assistant town manager or interim assistant town manager or temporary, whatever we want to call it. So that was really, I was focusing on whether we need that or not. So it wasn't necessarily to, maybe it sounded like that, maybe in my head I was actually going there, but it's not necessarily to help Paige pick somebody. I think there are multiple qualified candidates, so.
So to
But in
protect
you're
ourselves.
talking about with no, so that would be something combined, in their current role?
In their current
They would
role,
expand their
supporting.
role without compensation to support me?
Potentially, if they had capacity to help out in whatever, whatever you needed on a temporary basis.
But wouldn't just throwing the title on them? at least
Better?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it focuses
know.
it more
I don't know.
on,
Just so you know, I did ask Marie and her department to look at the finances, because, there were some payouts that are public information at this point. And I have no sense of compensation or whatnot, but because of all the vacancies right now, there is room. There could be an interim situation that would not bring it where we'd need additional funds. It's something, even with the payouts, we would be able to stay within the salary budget. Is that correct, Marie? Yeah, so that's, just so you know, we did take a look at that. And I don't have a plan, yet on that, but just so you know, I know that's something that Steph was probably concerned about too, is that with the payouts, there is capacity.
wiggle room.
Yeah, well, all right, so I guess there's no other way to just put it this way. So what I was getting about compensation is, if it is an existing employee or a department head or something, okay, so, Mike, I'm sorry because your name was thrown out there. I just want to use this as an example.
But should we?
So-
we
Okay,
just got-
I'm not gonna.
No, don't.
Okay.
We just got cautioned against that.
Okay, all right.
Here's Jamie. See, she's coming.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So here's my point, without any names. You have an employee that makes a certain salary, okay? That assistant town manager / HR paid a certain salary. So if a person's making above that salary already, and you're gonna pull them.
Still can't talk about it, Jamie?
No, thank you.
No.
Yeah, I think we need to focus the discussion, Stephanie, and you should note that for the record, if you feel that there should be no additional compensation to any employee above and beyond for the interim role, make that
We can just
noted.
say that. I
But
can
I
say
don't want to
that.
go too
Okay.
far afield. Note that for the record.
Okay.
And move the issue.
Okay, so
Duly
noted.
noted.
So noted.
Okay.
So do we need a motion to allow, do we need a motion or not, if we can get Jamie back?
Sorry.
Under her authority, she can just do that, we don't even need anything.
You need a motion
speak for
for
you.
the
Is
board
that
to
similar?
fill it.
We're listening
wait,
to
Steph.
Steph. We're listening to Jamie.
Okay.
Yep, so you need a motion for the board to fill the position. So you need a motion to fill an interim acting town manager position. And I would advise that the charter says town manager for a period not to exceed 180 days. I would have the motion be the similar, not to exceed the period of 180 days. Not that you can't modify that after the fact, but I would at this point make that motion similar to the acting town manager motion.
Okay, so,
Stephanie had a question.
just in case, I don't want to, was what I just said, what I wanted noted about no extra compensation? Am I correct? Were you similar? I can't tell because you were kind of like, I mean, is that,
I think
you kinda said
compensation
was-
is a consideration, of course, but also just having more clarity around what the role would be, what the expectations are, what the capacity is. So I would like more information on that before I was, so I'm not ready to vote on anything tonight.
Well, I'd be willing to listen to the motion, or hear the motion, and vote. I think we have to vote on that tonight, one way or the other. So.
And I think, for me, I think, we need to give Paige the authority to act as acting town manager and make decisions within the budget and what's best for the organization.
That's part two, though, Leah. Part one is if that position is even available. So if
What do
you're,
you mean available? Sorry.
We haven't voted yet.
Right.
voted,
Right, but I'm saying that I don't think would be here if she didn't think she needed it. We just heard from her why she thinks she needs it. So I don't want to undermine that already if we're kind of just heard all the reasons. I mean, she is a human and may be out and may want to take vacation and all that. And, it's, again, just because we appoint someone doesn't mean if we don't need it any longer, we can't revisit that. But what I'm hearing is it is something that she is looking for that support on. And I think if she feels that she needs that and we can do it within the budget, we're always obviously going to be cost conscious and look at that. But I would be willing to make a motion and then let her move forward with that as she saw fit within the budget and the roles and responsibilities and duties, and not have to feel that we're in the weeds kind of micromanaging those pieces. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to try to read it from the other motion and try to blend this. Give me a second. All right, so motion to appoint an interim acting assistant town manager for a term to end on 2/12/24 or upon the appointment of a permanent town manager by the select board. Does that work, Jamie?
Motion to authorize the acting town
Sorry,
manager
okay.
to appoint the position.
So motion to authorize the acting town manager to appoint an interim acting assistant town manager.
Yep, to authorize the appointment.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Motion, is there a second?
There is a second.
Dennis?
Dennis,
Roll call vote.
any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? 3-2. All right, moving on.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy.
So we're all done with this agenda item altogether?
Yeah.
Okay.
A little behind schedule.
Should have known that.
So up next is the sewer easement, Hamilton Square at Chestnut. I believe that's what Mr. Eugen is here for.
I didn't expect this to be your item.
It's actually a pretty simple thing. We're trying to correct something that should have been done years ago. When the apartment complex that's on Chestnut Street had a sewer issue or septic issue years ago, and the town had sewer capacity, they allowed them to tie into the pumping station at the Adjourn, and made a deal that they would be responsible for everything as far as maintenance of that pumping station, the generator, the station itself, the pumps. But the town was supposed to have put together an easement and recorded it. That never happened. There's been successive ownership of the apartments, and each time we end up inevitably in fights talking about what their responsibilities are versus what ours are. So Chris and I finally pushed the issue, and we got town council involved, and their counsel for the new owners there. An easement was drawn up that basically gives them the right to cross the Adjourn property a width of about 100 feet wide, where their pipe goes from their property to the actual pumping station, and then allows them access coming down the driveway with equipment if they need to do that. And in turn, this easement will now be recorded along with the original agreement that stipulates what their responsibilities are. So that's where we are. I think both Chris and I were very comfortable with the final outcome of what they're, the size of the easement. And it's only an easement for use to repair and maintain. So in other words, they don't get exclusive rights to that property. It still becomes playground area for the kids to use and stuff like that during the school day. So that doesn't change anything from the school department's point of view. It just formalizes the agreement and formalizes their responsibility versus the town's. And it gives them the easement right, obviously, so.
All right. Any discussion? No, pretty
Nope,
pretty
straightforward.
self-explanatory.
It's well-written.
Yeah.
All right, motion to approve the Hamilton Square at Chestnut Sewer Easement Agreement as proposed.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Discussion on the Pratt School.
Okay,
No appointments,
you have your Director of Land Use and Economic Development here.
You want to slide down a chair?
So this is from that tenure. So Seth serves on the Town Asset Review Committee, and that group has reviewed this, so he has familiarity with it. At Maytown meeting, the town did vote to dispose of the Pratt School, or to authorize the Select Board to dispose of the Pratt School. We went back to the TARC, as we call them, Town Asset Review Committee, and discussed it further. Just by way of background, prior to town meeting, after the committee met, we did contacted a couple developers in town that we just knew bought house lots and whatnot, and just very informally said, hey, is this a lot you'd be interested in? And we did get some feedback, so we know that there is interest in this lot. There would be interest in this lot. As we all know, Foxborough is a very desirable community, not a lot of land left. So we did discuss that. So just to go over, the TARC voted at that meeting 5-0 to motion to put out an RFP for the Pratt School with the property to be sold to the highest bidder without conditions. The conditions that were discussed, now let me back up. The group was very much talking about a single-family home. I did provide in board docs some more, the zoning, so you could see what could be allowed, but really that neighborhood is a neighborhood of residential neighborhood. And we know that house lots are pretty much the most valuable out there. So it was a single, context of a single-family home. The Historical Commission did request that perhaps the group look into whether to preserve the facade or the building. The group discussed that, and the problem with that is it very much limits the property. Where the school sits is in kind of an odd location on the lot. It's a very large building. It's neat looking, but it's also would be very challenging to build around a facade. If you limited it to maintaining it, I think it would very much, and the TARC very much thought that it would diminish the value of the property. So that's what the context of the group was suggesting, that they not have a minimum price, to let the market dictate it, and also to not put restrictions on it like saving the facade. I did provide a copy of the value as outlined by our town assessor. He noted that if this were an auction, it might start bidding at $180,000. We're not proposing an auction. We're proposing more of an RFP process, which I did also outline in the memorandum, where we've already checked off a couple of these, well, one, and then number 3 we've done. But this would be something that would be done in-house, working with the procurement department and finance to go ahead and put this out, and then allow pretty much the highest bidder to come in without restriction and bid on this property. So the TARC and I are proposing that the select board go ahead and authorize us to dispose of this property through an RFP without restrictions.
Any questions? Thoughts?
So Paige, so basically the value of the building really is nothing, 'cause I mean, even though it has a value for probably for taxes, but someone came in, it would be, especially if we're gonna consider residential, the building will come down, unless someone wants to live in that building.
Correct. And there's might be an expensive building. That's what the developers had said, is depending on the cost of demolition, depending on whether a septic system could be placed on the lot, there is the slight possibility, and we did add this to the sewer district, if septic didn't work there, it would be possible to run sewer there, probably, but that would also be costly. But we did know, like this, I know there's a sewer easement kind of next, not sewer, like the property next to it kind of has a unique septic situation, so I don't know what the soils are like out there. We do think it would be able to be developed, but obviously any cost of septic and demolition would offset as if the value of the land if it were just raw land. So we don't know, but I think wearing I would hope we'd get a couple $100,000, but there's no guarantee. The developers would have to look at it and figure out what would be their safe bet.
Could we not accept any RFPs if we wanted to, or do we have to accept?
Well, if you want to put a minimum,
Okay.
that would be the way you do that. Otherwise you'd have to take, the most advantageous, responsive and responsible bid, unless you have a minimum on it.
What's the square footage of the lot?
Of the lot itself, let me see. It's undersized. I don't have that number off the
I think
top
it's
of
on
my
the
head.
assessor's map here.
Oh,
but
yeah, it probably is.
It's,
Is it like 3/4 of an acre, or maybe, or half an acre?
0.43 acres.
Half an acre.
Yeah, so under
it's
half an acre.
non-conforming, if I remember right.
It is.
So it's a smaller lot than what's required out there.
Yeah, because 40,000 is required, and I think, let's see, so it's, and there's about probably 17 or 18,000 up there.
So Paige, would you, obviously, somebody from you or somebody from your office, from your planning office, would you suggest that we put a minimum based on kind of figuring out what is, or do you think it's just best to just let it go? I mean, anything we get is better than nothing, but I'm just curious if you thought you guys could figure out a fair minimum, if you thought that's the way to go? Or-
I feel like I want to respect the Town Asset Review Committee, and they felt there should be no minimum.
Okay.
I think we are going to see value. I think house lots are in such demand. It's right across from a cute little playground. Maybe I built it. But, so, I mean, it's a really great little neighborhood. So I do think there will be value, assuming, but now I would hate to, we've seen it in some other projects in town where you put a minimum, and then if someone discovers something like the septic's going to cost so much more, and then everybody goes, ah,
You go
I'm not
through all
doing
the
it, and
trouble
we've
and you
wasted
don't-
all
and
that
you don't
time.
have a buyer.
So I think we let the market bear, but Seth?
Yeah, and I just add that it's been sitting and sitting and sitting for
Yep.
years and years, and it's providing no value, so there's all that lost cost, that's nothing we can do about it now, but the sooner we can turn that over and have it be productive,
Yeah.
And then
the
it will
better.
become tax revenue. once-
Absolutely.
Right,
yeah.
because it's
Absolutely.
no tax revenue now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really a blight in the neighborhood.
with such a great park across the street.
It's a very cute park.
It is, for little kids,
For little kids, yeah,
Little
perfect
kids.
for little kids.
All right,
All right, so motion to declare the Pratt School property at 14 Community Way available for disposition and to issue an RFP for the Pratt School to be sold to the highest bidder without conditions.
Second.
any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda is zoning board appointments of committees. There were, last time we met, there was going to be two people coming in front of us, but one begged off. Even he thought Lorraine would be a good choice, so there's no interviews today, it's just a straight vote.
He has a letter in support of
Correct,
appointing
yeah,
Lorraine.
thank you,
too, as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, he also has a letter
All
of
right.
support.
So motion to appoint Lorraine Brue as a regular ZBA member for a term to extend May 31st, 2026.
Second.
Any further discussion?
The only thing I would say is further discussion is I was going to have a challenge with this vote because I know Lorraine, I don't know the other, the person who was originally a candidate. I know that person had seniority, but Lorraine, I think I was going to vote for her because I
Yeah.
value what she brings to the table, so that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, made our choice easy when even he said.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and I think we're happy with the choice, so.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
All right, motion to reappoint David DelPizzo, Margaret Chanson, and David Foscaldo to the FCOD, which is the Foxborough Commission on Disability, for a term to end 5/31/2026.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, the next one. I believe we have to read all these unless they're printed on the agenda.
They are
They were
printed on
printed
the
on the agenda.
agenda. We
Okay,
learned our
thank you.
We did that, yep.
Okay.
Printed.
All right, motion to appoint town election workers from September 1st, 2023 through August 31st, 2024, as listed on the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion to appoint Tanya Orlando to the Conservation Commission for a term to end May 31st, 2025.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, acting slash town managers update. Get rid of that.
I have a long one, so I'm going to go fast.
Okay.
I think everybody probably heard or knows that the Beyonce concert went over curfew by 17 minutes, so I just want to report that we did receive the sort of fine, the agreed-upon fee, within the 10 days required. We did not have to invoice, so that was a positive thing that we have received payment for that, so, yes,
We definitely heard it. It was the loudest concert I've ever heard.
I've heard that.
Been here a long time.
And did you notice too how much bass there was?
My house is shaking.
Yeah, I mean, it was all bass. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was at the concert, and when I was out in the parking lot, I couldn't hear anything, but I actually left early. And when I got home, I could hear it from my house. So I think,
Yeah, it's true, the wind. So
was
I left
yeah.
the Red Wing, And, I mean, I could hear it, I'm driving right by the stadium, but as I got closer to the center of town,
It was that
I was
funnel.
like, I was like, I thought I was driving towards.
Yeah, did the
towards it. It
decibels,
just-
did Scott, like, I know they measured the decibels, were there any issues with the decibels? No? So it was just the way the wind's blowing?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So can I ask a quick question? I think I remember years ago hearing, so what is the fine? Was it something like 5,000 a minute or something?
No, it's 50 cents. Well, so it runs by a range.
Yeah.
And for this one, being 17 minutes, it basically is 50 cents per attendee.
Oh, wow.
Per ticket, yeah.
Per ticket.
Per ticket.
So it was just
flat
over
out. So it doesn't matter how
it was
many-
just over
well,
$24,000.
So it's not per minute, it's, you've got to like 1 to 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes.
Right, it goes up,
whatever,
you
yeah.
know, right. And so it will be interesting to see what happens with Bruce Springsteen next week, because I know in the past, he has paid a fine.
Always goes
And
over.
there's
He
two
doesn't
shows.
care at all.
Always
He
goes
just-
over, checks in town hall the
So-
next day.
But we
So
haven't
how
been
much-
informed.
How much was the fine? How much?
It was,
do we-
just over $24,000.
I just saw he was canceling some
I
concerts.
saw that.
The one this
In
week.
Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has illness.
Sickness,
not
I think,
feeling
illness,
well.
yeah.
So hopefully he'll be better by next week.
Yeah.
I'm going Thursday night, so.
And traffic was, that was a weeknight concert, and from what I saw around town, traffic was fine.
Yeah, traffic's been really well managed.
knock on wood.
Like, I know, right, knock on wood. Another thing that's come up is complaints about power. So I wanted to share that because in case folks are watching, you know, we monitor social media, we know that there's been some concerns. So I have a few, I'm not gonna read my whole thing, but the short, Chief Kelleher reached out to National Grid because there were some complaints in a certain area of town over off Summer Street in that area. The short story, the reliability in East Foxborough has been very solid recently, with the exception of one underground cable fault followed by a lightning strike. The customers affected by the underground cable fault also saw both outages, so it was kind of one of those bad circumstances. They've performed numerous feeder patrols and did a bunch of spot tree trimming in that area and on the sub-transition lines that feed Foxborough number 2 substation. So the most recent power issues are unrelated to each other. Neither was a result of deferred maintenance. One outage was an underground cable fault, which had 16 customers out for an extended period, 5 hours and 40 minutes, and one was due to a lightning strike during extreme weather, which was more widespread but shorter in duration, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Most of the neighborhoods off Summer Street and Windsor Drive have underground utilities, and National Grid is in the process of replacing some transformers that feed these areas as well as others. So they do have work orders to replace 4 transformers. They're considered asset replacement and maintenance. So the work will be done over upcoming months in a time-sensitive manner, but sort of working around crises. There is no indication that this asset replacement work had anything to do with the outages from the underground fault or the lightning strike. A couple other notes. It should be noted that towns like Mansfield and North Attleboro have their own power company, which own the utilities. So it's important to note that a municipal electric light is going to be far superior to the National Grid in terms of quality and response. And also, the town is unable to go to a municipal light. I know this has been discussed in the past. It's not a matter that Foxborough can now create their own lighting company. That was something that was created long ago, and unfortunately, Foxborough is not in that group, and it's a bummer, but it can't be done. We did get a complaint today or yesterday from a resident on Fairway Lane. The chief was not notified of a 12-hour power outage, so he is looking into it. So he was surprised because normally he is notified. Christina informed me that she is planning on working with Chris to have National Grid come in for their annual discussion in October, probably when the DPW does their department presentation. But as you know, you regularly meet with them, I think, once a year. And so we are working with them to try to get them to come in and have the usual discussion with the board. So I just wanted to put that out there. We did get some answers. The GFAO budget book was submitted. I think you all received an email, but for residents' edification, it's under the Finance Department's website. Christina put it in a magazine version, which is kind of cool, in addition to a PDF, but it's a fully transparent overview of the town's budget. So it's a really helpful document. It's something that I've looked at, and it provided a lot of great information. So I strongly recommend residents check it out.
Just wanted to add great effort, appreciate everything that went into doing that and the work that you continue to do. So thank you for moving.
And now it's time to do the next one. You know, I mean, it's an annual thing, so
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
put it away and you get on to the next one. Just another way of updated, 131 Moore Street, contaminated site. We are working, Doc's been a little bit up to date on this.
So, just to interrupt you, is that the?
Summit Casting.
Okay.
Summit Casting, yes. So, and we're learning a lot more. So there's a lot going on out there. We met with town council, who advised us to get our legislature's assistance in trying to get cleanup funds, because it's so competitive. And the problem is, there's no ownership. It's in tax title. We don't want to own it, you know, but we can do certain things under tax title without taking on the burden. So we're working on that. We have a grant for the dam. So there's just a lot of moving parts. So what's going to happen? Senator Feeney's office already, I saw them at the YMCA ribbon cutting, and they said they've already been in touch with DEP, and we're going to plan a site walk in September to kind of get a handle on that. But just so you know, that's something that's important, and we're working on it to try to figure out the steps that need to be taken there. Over to our favorite topic, human resources. So you heard that Mary Beth Bernard is assisting us. One of the things we've been doing is evaluating HR software programs, and we're noting that they're rather cumbersome. They don't talk to one another, so I'm canceling. We've gone back to basics. We're literally Christina's posting job postings on our website. We're using professional locations as needed, having an HR email, and we're going back to basics. So we're going to see some savings just by getting rid of these programs that aren't serving us effectively. And then we're reevaluating and recalibrating. So we're on that. I've already been in touch. It is not easy to cancel things. They do not want you to do it. They don't give you emails. They don't tell you how to do it. So we're in a little détente on a couple of them, but you know, we've sent official letters, sent emails, and we're in the process there. So on the website, under HR department is where you'll find town jobs, and the school jobs can be found under the Foxborough Public Schools Job Board, which is under district information/employment. We only have a couple positions open right now. The library administrator position is open. And then the DPW had 6 positions open. 5 of the 6 are being interviewed this week and next. And there is still an open water technician position. So now our favorite, construction updates. So West Street, all new water main work has been completed. The old water main has been abandoned in place. All asphalt trench work should be completed today. And general site cleanup, old hydrant removal, loam and seed will occur over the remainder of the week into early next week before being 100% complete. So we all know that's been a thorn in many people's sides. East Street and Cohasset Street. After several delays, the contractor has stated they will be on site Monday, August 21st to begin the intersection reconstruction and is estimating 4 weeks completion. Only a couple days are anticipated where detours will be in place. Chris has worked really hard on that. We were told it was going to start a while ago. I think in my last report I mentioned it. It didn't. So he's been fighting that battle. We apologize for the unintended misinformation, but you know, they put curbs out. They were ready to go the next day, and it didn't happen. So we are hopeful that this will start on August 21st. South Street and Route 106, that's raw water main work. PJ Hayes is scheduled to start work next week on Sprague Road and works on South Street towards Route 106. The contract duration is for 1.5 years, and the majority of construction will result in a 1-lane closure during daily construction. So it's not anticipated to shut down the road. I think if it had to, they would seek to give advance notice, but that's not something anticipated. And then we have more, Eversource Gas is scheduled to begin a gas main replacement project in the Linda, Connie, Carmine Drive neighborhood this upcoming week. Eversource has sent notification to each resident in the neighborhood, and at this time, we do not have a estimated project duration, but we'll provide additional information when we have it. And again, that's not necessarily the town project, but trying to let folks know. Here's my baby, Walnut Street. I'm proud to report that we got the last $500,000 from Mass DOT. If you know, we got the $4 million grant, and there was a gap, so we got it up to $5 million, and then we just got the last $500,000. So we're at $5.5 million, which we probably need more at this point because of costs are going like this, but we hit our benchmark. Council is reviewing documents, and bids are still hoping to go out this month. Mass DOT is holding things back a little bit on their final review of docs, but it's all systems go on that. And we see how fast the all systems go means. It means it'll take forever still, but we're working on it diligently. I have some exciting news that I've been accepted into the fall MMA Suffolk Municipal Finance Management Seminar. So it begins on October 20th, and it was a competitive application process, and I was thrilled to be accepted. So I'm going to learn about the structure and purpose of local government, municipal budgeting systems and sources of revenue, financial reporting, record keeping, financial management, principles of property assessment, intersection of human resources and financial resources, and best practices in local government. So it's a five-day course over on Fridays, so all day Friday. So I'm very excited that I got chosen for that.
Congrats.
So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Timely.
Today, I attended an HR boot camp. So it was with 5 other colleagues from other cities and towns, and got a really great overview of HR and sort of a crash course. So another learning opportunity. So that was very helpful. On Monday, went to the YMCA Splash Park dedication. What a great facility. If you get a chance, check it out. It is like a flagship. When you pull up into the property, it looks so cool. Greg and Kathy Spears went down the water slide in their clothes. It was awesome. It was a great day.
Are there photos of that?
Yeah, there's got to be, and probably video, because Foxborough Cable Access was there. So you'll have to check it out. It was a really great event. The weather was perfect, and we're all very happy. I do believe they're going to open it up to Foxborough residents to give, even if you're not a Y member, to sort of give that early glance. And I don't know the schedule of it, but they mentioned they were going to try to let people come see it before it went just to the YMCA members. But you'll have to check it out. It's exciting. Bob Cutler let me know that the code vendor has updated the code to reflect the change to Select Board. So you're now officially Select Board.
I just saw our town use certificates, those still say Selectmen. We need to change those.
Okay, we will do it. Now it's official, yes. And then the sidewalk survey, just so you know, it was extended, and it closed on August 9th, and the results are currently being tabulated. What is interesting to me, though, is considering how much time we spent on sidewalks at town meeting of late, and we only got 229 responses. So kind of disappointing. It's too bad. So it's kind of a disconnect, because we know it's important, and yet the responses just weren't received. So stay tuned for the results, and hopefully they'll be quite informative, but it is a bummer to not have a better insight into a bigger cross-section of town. And then now we're on to town use properties. We have 7 town property use permits. So August 19th, the stakes are high. They're going to plant flags on the morning of August 19th. And on Sunday, the 27th, there will be a speaker event with resources starting at 10 a.m. That event usually lasts about 2 hours. There will be over 15,000 flags, as 2022 was one of the worst years yet. And this is an annual event, with the purpose of which is to raise awareness of those lives lost to accidental overdose. So it's going to be very compelling to see, and very tragic. On August 31st, Cars 2 will be shown on the Common, presented by Recreation. That's at 8 p.m. There's no registration. You can just show up for that. On September 9th, you're going to want to get your car washed here at Town Hall. Between 9 and 12, the FHS Science Honor Society will be holding a car wash. Subject to confirmation by the Water Department that week, because we always have to keep our eye on that, but right now it's all systems go. This is a really cool event. On September 13th, Crustaceans on the Common, hosted by Human Services from 4:30 to 6. Mark Craig and his team have gotten their permit through the health department. You do have to pre-register. I've already bought my lobster roll, so you want to go on to Recreation and you pre-register for your lobster roll, and it'll be pretty cool. It's only $15. That's a really good price for a lobster roll, so hope to see people there, because I don't know, I haven't had a lobster roll yet this year, so it'll be good. Hope to see people there. September 16th, week after the last, you can have another car wash. FHS Girls Volleyball car wash will be at the Town Hall from 9 to 1. That, just so you know, is, we've already approved this, but the Lions Fall Festival is that day on the Common from 10 to 3. So it'll be active uptown.
So wait, the Lions and who are the same day, sorry?
FHS Girls Volleyball Car Wash here at Town Hall. and
Different
then-
things, though.
Yeah, two separate places. It's all good. And we already approved the Fall Festival, but it's just a note that those are happening on the same day. October 21st, the J.C.'s Fall Craft and Vendor Fair on the Common from 7 to 4. And then lastly, October 25th, the Taylor Elementary Trunk or Treat, which is invite only, from 5 to 6 at the Uptown Schneider Lot. And I think if, I don't pursue this job, I'm going to become a commercial reader. That's all I have.
Thank you, Paige. New business, I think we've discussed. Any old business that I didn't know of that we should have brought forward? Okay. Action items.
Hey, before you skip over, do you want to say something quick about the tour yesterday?
Go ahead, that's a great idea.
Okay, well, I was just thinking, so,
I forgot about that.
the board, and Leah missed it again.
I was
Twice-
away, yeah.
Twice she's missed it. As a season ticket holder, she missed it the first time. So anyhow, the board was invited by the craft organization to come up and just take a peek at what's going on in that end zone. And it was nice because Christina and Katie and Paige joined as well. And I guess impressive is the word I would use. And they're saying it's going to be up and ready for September 10th, right?
4 more
And,
weeks,
yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. It's like, for me, I'm like, oh my God. But they are working 24/7. And
I think
Yeah.
they feel the same way, Steph. Oh, my God. Yeah, they're pretty nervous.
Certainly Brian did.
by the way, I'm just going to rat us out, Paige. Paige and I put our foot in glue, some type of
My
habit
footprint
glue.
is forever in that.
Ruin your shoes? Exactly.
With my good- my good sneakers.
Just with that, with,
It didn't
with
hurt.
sneakers, yeah. No, but it's just, we were just looking,
back and
and
put
I
your
think
name
we
on
just
it.
stepped, I wasn't looking down, we were trying, looking, and all of a sudden I felt,
Like a cartoon.
yeah.
Like
I
it put
was like,
six.
oh,
They were tiling, and then they put glue down on a section,
yeah.
but it wasn't
Yeah. And then somebody
taped off.
Steph, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I went to back up, and Paige is like, oh, don't worry, I did it too. And then, and then showed me where her footprint was.
I took a
So,
picture of it. I'm saved
yeah.
it. I sent it to my kids.
So anyhow, it was impressive, very nice of them to give us a tour up there. We all kind of said, hey, listen, we hope we're going to get the tour once it's all done. I think everybody wants to go up the lighthouse, So, and Dan Krantz, who toured us, did say that, once everything's done, everything's done, that if anybody wants to come and, I think he said, technically, we could have gone up, there's like, what did he tell us?
77
8
steps.
floors or something like that, but, yeah, I don't think
78
anybody was up for
steps,
that,
8
but
floors, yeah.
I think once the elevator's in, we might want to go back, but anyhow, it was a nice tour, it was a great day, nice to see what's going on up there, so.
And just with respect to the lighthouse, what I was told the last time I was there, and it's subject to their decision, obviously, but during game days, I believe those will be rented, the lighthouse will be rented out, so you won't be able to go up. But I believe during non-event times, it will be open to the public, and there will be the ability to go up there and see. And it's the largest lighthouse, I think they said, in the country, maybe?
Yeah.
So it will be something that would be kind of cool for Foxborough residents to be able to check it out, and I'm sure there'll be lines at the beginning, and it'll be hard to get in, but eventually we'll all get up there and be able to see the view. And it'll be really cool, and it's a lot bigger. I mean, I can't remember how they said over 100 people can fit up there. So I think it doesn't look that big from the ground, but it's a big amenity.
But you can see Boston easily, and you can even see parts of Providence on a clear day.
I think all the way to Mount Wachusett as well.
And Mount Wachusett, that's right, they did say that too. Yeah, Mount Wachusett.
So we're all going to want to get up there eventually, and I think the residents will be allowed to as well. Eventually.
Yeah. Full day, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you to the craft
Very
group.
nice.
Okay, action.
All right, so we have 3 action items. So motion to accept a donation of $27,705.90 for the Foxborough Skate Park improvements and renovations from the Foxborough Skate Park Fundraiser Incorporated.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
All right, we have 2 extended hour requests. So motion to approve the extended hours request for Jake and Joe's at 25 Foxborough Boulevard to open and serve alcohol starting at 11 a.m. on October 8th, October 22nd, November 5th, and December 3rd.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
And then we have one from Saga, but we don't have a motion.
I didn't put, I included it on the first one, but I didn't make it into board docs. So just if you want to do the same thing with
So we are
Saga.
approving that one, okay.
Yes.
All right, and then same thing, motion to approve the extended hours request for Saga Hibachi at, 295 Patriot Place, to open and serve alcohol starting at 11 a.m. on the same dates, October 8th, October 22nd, November 5th, and December 3rd.
Second.
All those, any further discussion? All those in favor?
All right, and then our last formal action item, motion to approve the July 18th, 2023 Select Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Great.
And motion to adjourn to reconvene on September 12th, next meeting.
All right, all those in favor? Great. Good night, everybody.